And a First Nations leader is calling on Ottawa to send the military into fishing communities in southwestern Nova Scotia after a suspicious fire at a lobster pound early this morning capped a week of rising tensions over indigenous fishing treaty rights.
Wow.
The RCMP say a man who is in a Halifax hospital with life-threatening injuries is a person of interest in this fire that destroyed the lobster facility. The blaze came in the wake of two violent clashes earlier this week involving hundreds of people outside lobster pounds that handle indigenous caught lobster. On Tuesday, a van owned by a Mi'kmaq fisherman was set ablaze. Chief Mike Sack of the Sipekene-Katik First Nation said some commercial fishermen are taking the law into their own hands.
My belief is that everything could have been a lot safer if the DFO acted in the first place, and some of those commercial fishermen were held accountable and charged for their actions. They're all walking around believing that they can do whatever they want and get away with it and take the law into their own hands. And I'm starting to believe that's true. You know, we have RCMP telling us that a lot of members are coming, a fraction of them are showing up. We're not sure who to believe, who to call on. So our last resort is to reach out to Trudeau, hoping that he can assist us and to ensure the safety of our members.
And the RCMP response has been under scrutiny. According to Chief Sack, the RCMP never tried to stop several hundred commercial fishermen who had thrown rocks, set cars on fire, and stole their lobsters. The ongoing tension now escalating to this. Again, the facility owned by an ally of the Indigenous people was burned to the ground today. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh saying, quote, "This is terrorism. The Mi'kmaq people desperately need help now. No more empty words, Justin Trudeau. This must be stopped." There's been no statement from the Prime Minister today. Here's what Trudeau had to say yesterday after being asked if the government will be stepping in.
We've been extremely active in trying to resolve this, both behind the scenes and in engaging directly with people. That's why we've called for de-escalation, called for dialogue. We are expecting the RCMP and police services to do their jobs and keep people safe. I think there's been some concern that hasn't been done well enough, and that's certainly something we will be looking at very closely. But we recognize the rights of Indigenous communities to moderate livelihood fishing, and we will ensure that we're moving forward in a way that recognizes these rights that have long existed and need now to be put into place.
And happening this afternoon, Public Safety Minister Bill Blair has green-lighted a request for additional RCMP support in Nova Scotia. Indigenous people in Atlantic Canada and Quebec have a treaty right to fish for a moderate livelihood where and when they want, based on a 1999 Supreme Court of Canada decision that cites treaties signed by the Crown in the 1700s. Many non-Indigenous critics, however, cite a clarification issued 4 months after the 1999 ruling, stating the Mi'kmaq treaty rights would be subject to federal regulations to ensure fish conservation.
270 years later, the province and provincial regulations are now saying that it's illegal for Mi'kmaq to sell their treaty lobster. It's inconsistent with the Supreme Court of Canada. It's inconsistent with the Constitution of this country. And I think after today's show it's inconsistent with the beliefs and values of Nova Scotians. And why it's urgent is because people are using that regulation to justify destroying pounds, burning vehicles, committing criminal offenses, harassment to women and men, and destroying catches, all in the name of that provincial legislation, regulation that says it's illegal.
Hundreds have stood in solidarity with the Mi'kmaq fishers who have been accused of illegally harvesting lobster. Protesters are calling on the federal government to uphold the treaty rights.